Hey, what's up? I'm Trent, and I'm one of these new quarantine 2020 bike riders. I've learned a couple things over the last 6 months that I've been riding my bike, and I want to share with you 10 things that I've learned in these first 6 months. So the first thing is, which bike should you get? I initially got a mountain bike because I'm surrounded by a lot of really great trails. I found myself riding that mountain bike on a lot of road. So I set a goal for myself. At 1,000 miles, I will allow myself to purchase my next bike. Those 1,000 miles and the terrain I rode on those 1,000 miles allowed me to see which bike would be the best for me. Riding a mountain bike is a lot of fun. I'm glad I have a mountain bike. I spent $600 on my first mountain bike, so not a big investment, but definitely a good way to find out if biking is something that you're into and something that you want to continue doing. And for me it was, so I got this bike behind me, which is a gravel bike. So to me, in my understanding, there's really 3 different types of bikes. There's mountain bikes, there are gravel bikes, and there are road bikes. And a gravel bike is pretty much a mix of a mountain bike and a road bike. So for me, I'm not going off crazy jumps, I'm not trying to go around any crazy rocks, or I did initially, and it's not something that I want to risk at this current moment. I would love to get a dual shock, dual suspension mountain bike eventually, but for what I'm doing, the types of trails that I'm riding, I don't need a lot of suspension. So a gravel bike was perfect for me. I ended up with a 2021 Specialized Diverge Sport Carbon. It's my first super nice bike. And it has been treating me super well. I have 970 miles on it so far. I've packed it up with gear, with bags, seat bags, and ridden it on road, did a 100-mile tour, rode it on some gravel, and it is perfect for me. I think the gravel segment of bikes is going to be perfect for a lot of people. Something while buying a bike that I dealt with that a lot of people probably don't is thinking about weight limits. So I'm a heavier guy. I'm about 250 pounds currently. And I almost broke 300, and the bike is something that's helping me change that. But bikes have a weight limit, and so that's something that I was really aware of too. Now, when you're thinking about bikes and you're thinking about weight limit, the weight limit that manufacturers specify is really the "you can't sue me" weight limit. They're designed to do crazy things. Even these gravel bikes, they're designed to take impacts, and I haven't had any issues even with this bike fully loaded. That was a lot for number 1. Number 2, get padded underwear. No matter if you're getting a chamois, which is padded underwear built into a lycra or synthetic short, or if you're getting padded underwear to wear under mountain bike shorts, which is what I do a lot, they help a ton. They essentially provide padding around your butt and around your crotch, and that makes saddle sores, that makes your butt feel a lot better when sitting in the saddle. That was a big tip that one of my friends, Corin, gave me when I started riding my bike, and I'm super thankful for that because that made my experience riding my bike a lot more enjoyable, and encouraged me to keep going because it didn't hurt my butt. So get padded underwear. The padded underwear I have been using, I bought off of Amazon. I will link them below. And I also purchased a pair of REI padded underwear, which I like as well. Okay, next thing. SPD clip-ins aren't that scary. So when I say SPD clip-ins, they're technically clipless, And that's something that confused me too. Clipless is, or clip-ins rather, are pedals with a kind of strap around it where you put your foot in and there's a buckle to change the size. That's clip-ins. Clipless, you connect to the pedal and you're connected, but there's no buckle, which I guess is the clip. I don't know. Again, I've only been doing this for really like 6-7 months, but I was really scared to start riding this bike with SPD clip-ins, clipless, whatever. I was super scared to start riding with them. To get your foot out, you kind of have to move your heel out and then it clips out of them. They're not that scary. They're not that hard. I haven't fallen over yet on this bike. And yeah, a lot of people will say stick with flats. I think flats are fine. But also, I don't know. I had flats on my mountain bike and now I'm clipping in on this gravel bike. So haven't really seen any downsides to clipping in. I think it's a good skill to have, a good skill to, a good thing to know how to do. And there are some benefits to clipping in, like being able to pull, right? Instead of just pushing down, you're able to pull on the upstroke, which engages a different muscle group. So that can help with muscle strain. It could also help in sprints, when you're sprinting up a hill or just trying to get some speed. So they're not that scary. Give them a shot. I would prefer SPDs over, I forget what the other ones are called. And the SPDs in the bottom of the shoe, the cleat is kind of sunken in. So if you are riding a lot of gravel, a lot of trails, you are able to unclip and walk pretty normally without having the front of your foot up with the traditional road bike clip-in. SPD is more of a mountain bike clip-in system. Enough about clip-ins. Lube your chain. Knowing how to do bike maintenance is super huge in having a good experience with a bike. And I guess I should also throw in with this, know how to change a tire or change your tube in a tire. I have gotten a couple flats with tubes, and if I didn't know how to change the tire, I would have been out of luck. The thing you need to make sure to do that I still sometimes struggle with is when you do get a flat, usually it's because something is poking through the tire and poking the tube. When you take the tube out, check the tube for a hole. Listen for it. If you're near water, it's good to submerge the tube and slowly change how much it is underwater. You will see bubbles come out of the water where the hole is. Sometimes these holes can be really small. So do that, and then based on where it was located on your tube and the valve stem for your tire, you can locate where on the tire the thorn or piece of metal or whatnot is in your tire. Make sure you get that out before you put another tube in. I have patched a tube, put it back in, and got a flat on the same spot when I put the tube back in. And that was a rookie mistake. I had to call my brother, and he picked me up in the middle of a ride. I think I was at 46 miles, and I wanted to get that half century, my first half century. And I didn't. So make sure you check your tires for thorns and whatnot. If you don't have water to check the tube, run your finger along the inside carefully, and you will find what is sticking through. The next thing, so that's lube your chain and know how to change the tire. Know how to adjust your derailleurs. Your derailleurs are on the back, sometimes on your, typically on your crank, on your pedals, and the derailleurs derail your chain. And this is something that's a little more advanced. There are a lot of really great videos from Park Tool Company on YouTube that explain how to adjust your derailleurs, what they do, and basically anything you need to know how to do on your bike, Park Tool Company's YouTube channel will have a lot of that info, and that's really how I've learned a lot about my bike and how to work on my bike. Next thing is eat every 45 minutes while you're riding. In here, I have tons of snacks. I mean, these are emergencies, but I've got butters, I've got Clif bars, protein bars. I always have bars on me, and while you are riding, you want energy. So actually just today on my ride, I did a 35-mile ride, and before I went up a big hill, I ate a gel, like a I don't know, like an energy gel, and that had 100 milligrams of caffeine in it, and that set me off really great for the rest of my ride. Gave me lots of energy, and I'm still kind of coasting off of it. So eat every 45 minutes. You will not end up bonking. Bonking's when you lose carbs and sugar, in my understanding, in the touring world. And you kind of need a day to rest if you bonk. But eating is good, carbs are good, and yeah, eat a lot. So when I started clipping in Clipless to to my gravel bike, my feet started getting really hot in spots, and I thought that was because of the shoes or because of where on the bottom of the shoe I placed the cleat. But then I went riding with my friend John, and he would unclip his foot and roll it around every 15 minutes, and that basically solved my problem. I noticed that on a 100-mile ride, and yeah, when your feet start hurting, when they start feeling hot, clip them out and roll them out. That gets the blood to your foot and helps with your feet being sore. On flat pedals, it doesn't happen as much because you're using much more surface area to push down while you're pedaling. So I never really got too much or too bad of hot spots when I was wearing Vans on flats. But I say regardless of what kind of pedals you're using, roll out your feet. That will help with foot pain a lot. Next thing is pedal with your heels down. Don't push your knees out. So my feet typically aren't straight. My toes typically go out. So when I'm pedaling, my feet are typically a little more straight, and sometimes my heel tries to go back, and sometimes that hits back here on my bike. But I've noticed that when my heels go in, so do my knees. Well, my knees don't go in, my knees go out. And so I have noticed that I get knee pain when I push my knees out. So I have been focusing on, in my posture while riding, one, not moving my hips a lot. That comes from having a good bike fit and from having essentially your seat not too high. If your seat is too high, you're going to be leaning side to side to get to the bottom of your pedal stroke. So even though I still have a little kink in my knee while I'm fully extended, I try to make sure that I'm not moving my hips a lot. So with the knee pain, yeah, same thing. I try to be conscious that I'm keeping my knees in rather than pushing my knees out. That has been helping with knee pain. And along those same lines with posture, on a drop bar bike, it's always good to keep some bend in your arms, and that takes a lot of stress off your shoulders if you are fully extended, which I tend to do, and I have to remind myself, hey, release the tension in your shoulders, relax, bend your arms, and that gives yourself some more suspension too when you hit bumps. when you're descending, when you're going down hills, that's something that I've found really fun. I've started to hit about 40 miles an hour. It's not a race, but it sure is fun to feel the wind in your face. When I am descending, I have learned that I am most stable when I lean back slightly and I pinch the seat with the inside of my thighs. You don't need to lean back as much as you are when you're riding a mountain bike going downhill, but leaning back enough to pinch the seat with your legs adds a lot of stability for me on descent. Also, when you're descending, make sure you blink a lot. I have been going super fast down a hill and my eyes start watering, and I started hitting the brakes because I started to not be able to see. When you're going downhill, it's a lot like flying my drone in the goggles. I won't blink because I want to be so focused on what I'm doing. So blinking a lot has helped, and I haven't worn those like silly, super close to your face biking glasses because I typically wear prescription. So that's why I haven't done that. When you're running tubes, try to run close to the max PSI that your tires and tubes use. This will help, in my understanding, this helps prevent punctures, pinch flats, which is when your tire's too low of pressure and your rim hits the bottom of the tire, and when it hits the bottom of the tire, it can cut the tube on the inside of the tire. So it's like fangs. That is called a pinch flat. So having your tires inflated to the right PSI, there is no right PSI for everyone. I'm a heavier guy, so my right PSI is typically a little lower than the max PSI, and that helps with wear and tear on the wheels and on the tires. But yeah, experiment with PSIs, definitely towards the higher range, and talk to your local bike shop. They are super helpful. That's the next thing. Have a good local bike shop. I have been going to the Hub bike shop in Westlake Village. They've been super helpful and have answered all my questions. I'm a very curious person. I want to know a lot about everything. I want to know how things work. And they have been super helpful on answering my questions, on helping me understand why things are happening, helping me understand what things would be the best for me as a heavier rider, as a new rider, and they have the connections with the bike companies where they can order spare parts. They can order different products from different vendors, so which you might not know that you need. So have a good local bike shop. That's super important. And the last thing is have fun. When I first got this bike, which is a gravel bike, a little more road oriented, I kind of felt like I was being judged a little bit from people in the community. And I say that because I live in a very bike-oriented, road-oriented community, and which is great. That means there's always a lot of people riding their bikes, even during the weekdays. On the weekends, tons of people are out riding their bikes. It makes me super happy. But before I really had synthetic shirts or bike jerseys, which I don't like to wear bike jerseys. I typically like to wear sun hoodies, which are SPF rated, so I don't have to wear sunscreen or anything like that. Don't let anyone judge you for using flats and not clip-ins, or not wearing Lycra, or not looking the part, or I think there's a difference between wearing the stuff because that's the right thing to do versus it's the best for you in terms of chafing, in terms of odor, in terms of wind resistance. There are benefits to going full kit, but be comfortable and have fun. Those are the two most important things that I have learned. I always have fun when I'm on my bike. It's the most freeing thing that I can do whenever I wake up and I'm dragging on my morning and I'm feeling lazy and I feel like I don't want to ride my bike. Whenever I get on my bike, I'm so happy that I did. There's something about the wind in your face, exerting yourself, and traveling a lot of mileage that is very fulfilling. And I have found that very fulfilling myself, and I think you will also find it very fulfilling as well. That's about it. I think that was 11 things. I don't know. But I've been loving riding my bike, and so I wanted to share these 10 things with you that I have learned along my journey of learning how to ride my bike, how to ride it in the best way to not get injured, which bike to ride, and these little tips that I've learned along the way. And so I think there's a lot of people like me right now who have gotten bikes. They're new bike owners, they're new bike riders, and if I can provide an ounce of support for that, that would mean the world to me, especially if you're a bigger person riding a bike. There's nothing more that I want to do than advocate to get bigger people onto bikes. Biking's for everyone. If you don't have a bike, go get a bike, and I will see you on the next video.